What's it like to fly? I mean, is it fun? Boy, oh boy, Nick thought to himself, good question. That's my Maria, all right. Not going to quit asking until she gets an answer. Yeah, Nick, how are you going to handle this? What's the answer? Well, you know, it's kind of scary. I've only done it a few times, so I don't know how I really feel about it. But it's not as scary as it was before. I mean, I'm not used to it or anything like that. Yeah, now that you ask, sure, it's kind of fun. Gosh, Daddy, I wish I could do it. I think it would be more fun than anything. More fun than anything in the whole world. Could you teach me how to do it, Daddy? If you could teach me how, we could go flying together, couldn't we? That sure would be great, darling, but flying isn't something I can teach you. This was an accident, and nobody knows how it happened. You understand, don't you? I guess. More thinking going on. Maria Magdalena is not quite satisfied. Daddy? Yes, sweetheart. Would you show me how you fly? Now? Uh-huh. Right here? Uh-huh. How come, baby? Oh, because it's so beautiful, Daddy. I think it's the most wonderful thing I've ever seen. You really do? You really think it's wonderful? Oh, yes. Oh, I do. Will you? Oh, please. Nick looked at his daughter, and at this moment loved her as he had never loved anyone before. He dearly loved his son Andreas, and he worshipped his wife Marisa, no doubt about that. But at this moment he saw in his precious daughter's eyes nothing but trust, total adoration, an absolute belief in him as a father, as a friend, and most important of all, not someone strange, not someone so terribly different than anybody else, but simply her daddy, somebody who was really and truly fun to be with. And so he hugged his child, kissed her on top of her head, took off his parka and sat her on it, facing the frozen lake. Gulls screeched strident caws as he climbed on a high boulder. For an awesome instant, Nick felt he had joined their kind. Then he moved his arms up and down, then round and round, faster and faster, until they became a blur. Then he leaned forward and flew to his daughter and landed softly at her feet. Oh, Daddy, she cried, eyes as big as saucers. That was so beautiful. You are really and truly the most wonderful daddy in the whole world. And it was then that Nicholas Stolarski knew in his heart that no matter what happened to him from now on, he could face anything, anything at all, because he was loved not for what he could or could not do, but simply for who he was. Well, that's what happens then, of course, is what happens to Salah. He gets caught in the thing, you know. And they make a video, and he signs on with somebody who advertises him. He signs on with an outfit called Trans-Universe Airline, for which he starts to fly, and he becomes well known, and everybody climbs on his back, and things get tougher and tougher and tougher. Makes a lot of money. And I'm not going to tell you how the end is, but the end is a smash. Wonderful, wonderful climax, which I have enormous joy writing. As a matter of fact, whenever I feel a little sad or blue or whatever, I pick up the book and read the last chapter. It's fun. So that's Nicholas Icarus, the story of Nicholas Stolarski. It's I think it's somehow Swiftian in character. It's a satire. It's a satire on what? It's a satire on on all the institutions that either support or denigrate, not always for good reasons, denigrate someone who is climbing up the ladder, when, as we know, there's always somebody who wants you to climb down the other side, or shove you down the other side, or punch you down the other side, or kick you down the other side. And so there are a lot of agencies. There's some very interesting people in here. The medical profession takes a great interest in him. I did a lot of research on the medical details. I know every bone that exists in a bird's body, and some of them, of course, are replicated in Nicholas Stolarski, who is not a bird, but he has some things in common with birds for a time. Anyway, This is the arc of a celebrity on his way up, the arc of a celebrity on his way down. Not down and out, but down. Okay? Yeah, by all means, ask away.
That reminds me of the up and the down, the ad, which I'm sure everybody's seen on television in the last 6 months, where the young fella climbs on the top of the bridge railing, and he's got a wing in both arms. And the crowd is there, and pretty soon he looks, and pretty soon he starts to fly, and everybody's shouting, "He can fly, he can fly."
But can he swim?
200 yards, and he heads into the water, and he can fly. And the one little guy's standing there turning away. Yeah, he can fly, but he can't swim. I can't even remember what it was advertising for, but I remember.
I think it was an insurance company, I think. Well, the insurance company gets involved here too. The airline, the villain in the piece is a character whom I unfortunately had to do a lot of business with at one time. I've morphed him into a marketing director of this airline. And he's a real bastard who is interested in nothing about the personality. He's not interested in goodwill. He's just interested in how many tickets Nick can sell for his airline, because the airline is going in the toilet. And that involves, of course, the account executive for the airline, who works for an outfit called BBD&U, which used to be BBD&O, which was Batten, Barton, Durston, and Osborne, which I've transformed into Barton, Beaton, something in Unger. And so it's a play on why everybody will, everybody who's in the business will know that's BBD&O, but it's kind of fun. Well, Nick flies for Letterman. He also flies for Larry King, and I've given due apologies to Leno and Letterman and King for using their names. I've also put a disclaimer in for the Kankakee Daily Journal, which is mentioned quite frequently, because Billy Harris, who breaks the story, is a kind of also an interesting character. Anyway, that's yeah.
Who is Icarus? Because I know Icarus. Who is Icarus? I know Icarus.
Who's the who?
Icarus.
Icarus?
Yeah. I know it's a.
Who is this? Other people? How many people don't know who Icarus was? Icarus was the Daedalus and Icarus were the people who wanted to fly in the Greek mythology, and the father couldn't. Icarus flew. Father plunged, and Icarus flew, and then the sun burnt his wings, and he disappeared into the ocean. Huh? Pardon?
His wings were made of wax.
Yeah.
And too close to the sun.
It's a kind of well-known myth. Now you know. Now it's well known to you too, Andy. Yeah, well, you look it up. I mean, Icarus. It's Google it. Any other questions? I mean, fire away. You know, yeah.
What about Joe Mooney? Is he a generalization of all the agents you've ever known? Is he a mix of agents you've been involved with, or is he a takeoff on one agent that you've ever dealt with? They are.
There's a question.
How about
agencies have certain things in common, you know. I mean, account executives and the part of this book, which is I found it fun to write, is the confrontation between the client and the agency. The marketing directors of clients, big businesses like airlines and soap companies and food companies and so on, and the account executive at the agencies is an eternal, endless, unprofitable battle. The agency can never do right. And of course, it's never the fault of the client. Their business practices are always perfect. It's always the agency's fault. And I lampoon that. In the end, my agency guy gets pretty tired of his marketing director, and he quits. He goes into business for himself.